Well, we're excited. It seems like spring may really be here. Those are my strawberries I'm getting ready to plant. My husband is rototilling one last time for that area where we're going to put the strawberries. We're putting a new cattle panel up there. You see he's putting in the T-post for the cattle panel. I love strawberries and raspberries, and we already have a bunch of raspberries planted in this area. And I used to grow strawberries in Ray's garden, and they did it pretty well, but I want more, and so I'm going to go ahead and put them in the ground and let them spread. They tried to spread in the raised garden, but they can only spread so much, and then they get kind of crowded. So we're putting them in the ground this year. We've expanded the garden all the way around just to make more room for everything. Like I said, this section we expanded for the strawberries. We also have the raspberries. We have peas planted on the cattle panel that the raspberries are being supported by, because they have about a 10-foot section of that cattle panel that they haven't expanded onto yet, and I didn't want to waste the room. So we went ahead and planted our peas along that, and then on one side of this cattle panel that he's putting up, we'll have the strawberries, and then on the other side I'm going to put some tomato plants. So I'm trying to make the most out of the room that we do have without anything being crowded, and with us still having plenty of room to walk around. Cattle panels in our area are about $25 a piece, and the T-posts were about $5, and it takes, we use 3. You could probably do it with 2, but we use 3 to support it. And so that's not too bad. You can do a little bit at a time and expand your garden. That's what we try to do, because we can't do it all at once. You see, I've got the strawberry plants laid out there where I'm going to put them. There, I've put them in the ground. They're ever-bearing strawberries. They've already got some blooms on them. And then I put down some straw to help keep the ground moist, keep the sun from beating down too hard on them. And there you see the tomato plants that I put down. And I also put some basil seeds in between. Basil and tomatoes go really well together. Strawberries go with just about anything. There you see my pole bean poles, and I have put the beans in the ground and put the straw on them. There are my radishes that I planted a few weeks ago. They're sprouting real well. I need to thin them, and I don't like to, throw anything away or kill it if it's growing, so I'm thinning them, putting them into more pots. And my husband loves radishes, and I canned some before, so I'll probably can some again. You see I'm putting them in, that's a potting mix that I'm putting them in there. In a previous video, when I first planted them as seeds, I showed how I put bone meal and blood meal and ash in the dirt, mix it up real good, and that usually helps them grow pretty well. And then now, like I said, this is potting mix. I did not add anything to it this time. In that video where I planted the radish seeds, I also planted a bunch of others. I planted some pepper and tomato, cabbage, carrots, beets, onions, and lettuces, spinach and lettuce and romaine. And a lot of those are in pots similar to these pots that you see. And then I also have them in some reused deli containers. The lettuces and the spinach don't really need a deep pot like that, so I put those in the deli, like a rotisserie chicken comes in kind of, and got those going. And then I put some nasturtium flower seeds in some reused pots from plants I had purchased in the past, the small pots that you get when you buy some seedling plants. I've got nasturtiums in those, and then I also have tomatoes and peppers. I have sweet peppers and jalapeno peppers and cayenne in reused pots. I try to reuse things, try to do things in an inexpensive way. And I also don't like throwing things out if they have a use, so I reuse a lot of things. The nasturtiums will go in the garden when they're about 6 inches tall, and they also grow well on those cattle panels. They're kind of a vining flower, and they help keep away bugs. They draw aphids. They're like a sacrifice plant. They take bugs off of the other plants so that they can grow. And I also have marigolds planted in my garden, and I had them last year, and all around the perimeter they get huge. They get probably 5 feet tall. I'd never seen marigolds get that tall before, but I keep seeds from year to year off of them, so they keep going. And I have 2 spaghetti sauce jars full of marigold seeds, and then I also have 2 spaghetti jars full of black-eyed Susan seeds, which I'll also be putting out. I like to save the seeds from year to year. It's way cheaper than buying. You never buy, I mean, there's like millions of seeds in a spaghetti sauce jar, and I end up planting them all by, probably by April or May. They're all planted. That's a lot of seeds I plant. But I have a little wildflower garden too that I put them in also, and it takes a lot of seeds if you want to spread them around that far. Here you see I'm planting some violas that I bought, a couple little plants from Home Depot. I'm putting them in a hanging basket. Also just in that potting mix without anything added to it. It's the Miracle-Gro potting mix, so I'm hoping I don't have to add anything to it. I might put some fish emulsion in water later on when I'm watering them, and that'll help nourish them. Here you see, somebody's laying an egg. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Here I'm doing another potted plant. These are dianthus. Those other pots you see lined up there have seeds in them. That's the beets and onions and carrots, and they do have tiny little sprouts. I don't know if you can see them in the video, but they are starting to come up. It's always exciting when you see your seeds coming up. And I had a couple 4 strawberry plants left over from when I was planting the other area with strawberries, so I'm going to put some in hanging pots. I'm going to put 2 plants per pot and just have another little area with strawberries. I have had strawberries in hanging pots before, and they do really well. Strawberries seem to do pretty well in raised bed, well, really anywhere. Raised beds, potted, or even in the ground. Strawberries do really well. And strawberries are a good cover crop too for your garden to, keep the ground moist and in place and add nutrients to the ground for other plants. Plus you get strawberries. We're going to be working on the rebuilding of our shade cloth tunnel for the section of garden where it's at. The ice storm that we had collapsed the roof, so we're going to have to rebuild the roof so that we can use it this summer to keep the sun off of some of the plants. The Texas sun is so intense. There are, last year I had squash and zucchini and tomatoes and basil all in the shade cloth area, and I will say I also was using hay bales. to grow. I was trying that and they did okay, but I don't know if I'm not going to use hay bales again this year, but I don't know if I'm going to put tomatoes in there or not. I feel like tomatoes really like a lot of sun, and they were trying to reach through the shade cloth last year. So I don't know if I'll put tomatoes in the shaded area. Here in these potted plants, I'm also adding some seeds. You see them there? I guess you say Alyssum seeds. It's a tiny little flower. I'm hoping that it will kind of flower out over the edge of the pots and just add to the look of the pots. And those seeds are tiny. I think they are probably the tiniest seeds I've ever seen. And lettuce and spinach and a lot of things have really tiny, carrots have tiny seeds, but those flower seeds were the tiniest thing I've ever seen. They kept sticking to my hands. And you only get so many. Those are Dollar Tree seeds. So you only get so many in a packet. In February, when I was planting those other seeds, I had a Dollar Tree packet of seeds that was empty. It didn't have any seeds in it at all. I did a video on that. But let me know if you've ever had a Dollar Tree seed packet or from anywhere. A seed packet that didn't have any seeds in it. I've never had that happen before. Hope I don't have it happen again. But that was so simple. I'm reusing some hanging pots that I had from previous years, and those plants were $1 a piece. So for that right there, including the strawberries, I spent $5, you know. So it's $2 per hanging pot, basically, so maybe $6, but it helps pretty up an area. I enjoy doing it. You can see we've started to repair the roof. You see the ice storm collapsed it, so my husband's been trying to reinforce it. And you see we've put some panels along the edge there where we usually have our pepper plants to help support our pepper plants this year. We expanded this section of the garden by 4 feet out to try to give our pepper plants some more room and to give us more room in our walkway. You see there the bean poles. Last year, that's a picture from last year's garden. The beans grew up on those bean poles really well. And I have got the beans planted, just planted them, but they haven't started sprouting yet. And I had some cabbages in that little tunnel building. I brought those out because he's working in there, so I was trying to make it possible. You can see in that picture the shade cloth that goes on it once we have it rebuilt. The Texas sun is pretty intense, so things that need a little bit of help with that go in that tunnel building. I'm excited. You see my cabbages there, and then also I have planted broccoli and onions and some spinach in those pots. That's where the peppers will go, right there along that walkway. They were on the inside of the walkway last year. We're going to be putting them on the outside. There's my radishes. I spread them into 4 different pots. I have a video showing that, but they are doing really well. Those are my nasturtiums. They're doing really well. Right there, that's tomato plants that are starting to come up. And then those 2 are little sweet pepper plants that are starting to come up. I have cayenne and jalapeno there, but they're not coming up yet. And in those little boxes, you see I've got sprouts coming up of my cabbage and spinach and romaine. I'll transplant those into bigger pots. I'll have a video showing that. But it's so exciting to see the little sprouts coming up. I have a video showing where I planted those as seeds. if you're interested in watching that. This is my strawberries, and you see tomato plants there also. We just put that cattle panel up, and we put the strawberries in, and we put the tomato plants in, and they're excited. They're doing really well. They look really happy. And right next to them is my raspberry area, and they're doing well. Starting to have buds. And these are some potted flowers that I did. I have a video showing that. And a couple extra strawberry plants that I had left, so I put them in pots. They're doing well. And these are my raised beds that also collapsed during the ice storm, and my husband just reinforced them. You see that other video there, it's showing them collapse, but he reinforced them. And this is my elderberry edge there going along the fence, and they're sprouting. They're starting to have green leaves, and that's exciting for me because I like making elderberry syrup. I made 24 bottles the last batch. Each batch is about 24 bottles, and I can get 3 batches a year. I'm about ready to do my 3rd batch. You see in those pictures last year's berries, just to show you what they end up looking like by about August. It just fills in that entire, you can't even see through it. By about June, you won't be able to see through the fence there. And every year they kind of spread a couple feet. I get more of them. That started out as about a 4-foot section. This is my jasmine. It also started out small a few years ago, and it's doing really well along that fence. I'd be happy if it took over the entire length of the fence on that side. We have a gate right there that we have to stop it from going over, but the other side it can go as far as it wants. And these are some wild dewberries that we're leaving alone. We're going to let them take over that side of the fence. That's about a 20-foot vine, and it's starting to have flowers on it, and it's brand new. I mean, we were just cutting them down, but this year we're going to let them do what they want. And if they take over the fence, that would be good. And if we get berries, that would be great. I'll be making dewberry jelly, dewberry everything. It looks like a really strong, healthy vine. That right there is wood sorrel. We have that all over our yard wild. I don't remember what that is, but it's pretty. And those are spring lilies, I think they're called. Those are wild. These are some of the plants that I give to my chickens. They love the wood sorrel with the pink flowers. And then that's medic right there. It looks like clover with a purple center. That's medic. And then we have the spring lilies and henbit. They love the henbit. Cleavers are starting to come out now too. They're not thrilled with cleavers. There's my mullein. Made it through the winter and the ice storm. The tall one was damaged by the freezes and the ice storm, but it's still alive. But you can tell it got damaged. Hopefully it'll be okay. These are just some pineapples that I grow from pineapple tops. I make our own pineapple juice, and those are just the tops. They're surviving. They're doing pretty well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll check in some of my other videos. Have a great day. God bless.